What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Swanky Disc Golf. It has been a while, but it was a rainy day in Georgia today, so it's a perfect day to do a tier list. It's been over 2 years since our last mid-range tier list, so we are bringing you new mid-ranges. All of these mid-ranges, we checked the PDGA website, have been approved 2021 or newer. So we're going to rank all of the best mid-ranges that have come out over the past years. I'm super excited about it. I forgot to charge my microphone. That's why it's plugged in right here. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to let Reed start us off with the Berry from Clash Discs. Their entire lineup really has came out in 2021 for the most part.
We've got pretty much every mid in their lineup in this list somewhere, right? So we'll start with the Berry, which is the first one that we received. Well, we received this and the Mango, I think, at the same time. Yeah. But the Berry's their 5.5, -1.1. It flies beautifully. It was our first introduction to Clash's plastic, which is money.
So good.
It's so good. The first Berry we got was like metal flaky too. It had like it was
beautiful.
It wasn't opaque. It was opaque. It was not translucent normal metal flake.
It was plastic, I guess.
Yeah, it was steady plastic, but with metal flakes in it. It was insane. But plastics aside, the flight of it is great. It flies probably a little bit more. I'm going to compare everything to a Buzz, I feel like. It flies a little bit less stable than a Buzz out of the box. But the plastic is really durable. I have found that the Berry hasn't really changed in flight much since I bought it. So I'm going to throw it up in the A tier, I feel like, right?
A tier is a good spot.
A tier is a good spot.
I feel like most of these are going to... This could be... Have we ever had a tier list that didn't have something in dog toy? So for us, D tier means dog toy. S tier means swanky. I don't know. This might be our first tier list not having something in dog toy. We'll see. But in the words of Barney Stinson, newer is always better. So it's just...
We're quoting Barney.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Always good to quote. The Mango is next. I love the Mango. Possibly my favorite disc that I don't bag. I don't know why I don't bag it. I've always struggled with overstable mid-ranges in that they just very rarely fly much farther than a zone for me personally. I feel like I can throw a zone almost the same distance as a Mango. So it feels kind of null and void for me, but the Mango itself is an incredible disc. I love the Mango. It just doesn't fly super far for me. Like I can throw a zone either just as far or maybe a tiny bit less far. So the plastic, though, it's going in A tier also. It's going to go below the Berry. But the usefulness of the Mango is next level. If you like overstable mid-ranges, I imagine the numbers are 0.4, 0.3 at the end. The Mango, I think, is the best one on the market. Straight up. The hand feel, the plastic, so good.
Yeah, it competes with like a Justice and a Recluse for that spot, but it's the only reason I don't bag one is because it's not bored flat, and I like to forehand that mold, so it feels a little bit uncomfortable for me forehand-wise. But yeah, phenomenal numbers, phenomenal flight, especially for backhand throwers.
That is the Guava.
That is the Guava. What are the numbers on the Guava again? Okay, we looked up the numbers. 5502. Yes. I do remember this disc. And it slides in there between the Berry and the Mango. So, but for me, this is a very, very niche shot, the 5502. So it's much more useful, I think, for a bigger arm than probably for because for bigger arms, the 5502 starts to fly more like your Buzz than these other discs do. So for me, the plastic, and this is going to be available in tone plastic when it does fully release. I love the tone plastic, and if our experience shows us anything, tone plastic is more understable.
Yeah, that's true.
In that variant, so that could be a money mold, but I'm gonna put it in B because I don't think it's up there with the Berry and the Mango, just in its usefulness.
If you're comparing it to their own mid ranges, it's gotta be below.
But it's plastic and its quality keeps it up from C tier, you know.
Yes, I agree. We reviewed the Tone Salt, and that thing was straight up like flew like a Hades or an underset
Yeah.
thrasher or something.
Oh,
like
it was
that.
so
It was
understable.
wild. Up next
Wow.
is the Despair from Doomsday
Yes,
Discs.
I'm so
We
glad
actually
this
just
is on the
included
list.
this on a list recently. We were talking about discs you've never heard of before. We got this in a starter set from Doomsday Discs, and we were very surprised, very pleasantly surprised. I can't remember the numbers, but I remember it flew more understable than the numbers suggested. I think it was like 0, 2 or
0.2 or
something.
0.3.
And it
Was it
flew
5.403?
much straighter than that. But the flight was great. It flew a lot more like, if I'm remembering the footage I edited correctly, it flew almost like a Buzz SS. It was straighter. His first throw on hole 10 of Little Mulberry Park started to turn to the right a little bit. But he also was able to throw it on some flat forehands that did stay flat. The Despair is also going to go in B tier, I think, just because we don't know enough about the plastic yet to see how long it's going to last. It is dirt cheap.
It's the cheapest disc on the market.
$6 or $7 anywhere you can find it.
$6.99.
Dirt cheap. I love that. Great disc.
Yeah, that almost makes it A tier for me. I agree. I agree with the placement, but like its accessibility makes it high B tier. Like this is that quality of plastic for that cheap is like Temu level of production. It's
if
like
2 years
unbelievable.
From now, there's still Despairs out there flying, somewhat similar to just not being broken in half or things like that. It'll move up to A tier.
Fair enough.
Next is the Archive.
Wait, no, that's the Archive. What is that?
Oh, up next is the Doomsday Discs Frag.
Doomsday Discs Frag.
If you haven't thrown the Frag, it's a 5-speed. I've thrown the Frag a lot. I can do this one if you need me to.
I've not thrown the Frag.
Rubber blend 5-speed that the last numbers I believe are 0. I think it's 5405 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, this
This is essentially a rubber blend 5-speed tilt. It flies exactly like a tilt, but it's slower.
What?
And it's absurd. And also, I go back and forth. If you guys have watched the channel for a while, you'll know I don't really love super weird discs. I don't mess with rubber blend discs. I don't mess with weird undermold or weird like double rim, the Rask and stuff like that. Don't mess with it.
Bergs.
Don't touch it. This though, the Frag, again, it's weird. I would never use it in play, in a tournament setting especially. I would never touch the thing. But it flies like a tilt, which is funny. It's niche. It's got meme material. And it's also like $6.
Yeah.
And I know we've thrown this one a lot, actually, and it holds true to its flight numbers very well. And it's super weird. It's literally so bad and so dumb.
Now you have to do the hard thing.
But it does exactly what it is supposed to do, and it does it better than anything else for very cheap.
There you go.
What do you do other than put it in B tier? Because I can't put it in A tier because it's just so stupid. But I can't say that it's a bad disc per se because it flies like a tilt, and a lot of people pursue that flight, and there it is for $6.
It's just so silly.
And it's cool. The stamp is cool. The branding is cool.
All right, thanks for taking that one. I've never thrown that, but I do remember you talking about it, and I remember that review.
Yeah.
And now I get to do the Hex because you did that.
Nice,
and I'm very excited about putting this one in S tier without talking much about it.
It is a swanky disc.
It is probably the most popular release of the last 4 to 5 years.
I would agree.
Potentially the Luna could compete for that, but if you talk about like all the way till now and the longevity of the release, I think the Hex is probably...
It's still one of the more popular mid-ranges.
It's probably in 5 years from now still going to be either number 1 or number 2 with that and the Buzz in all of disc golf for mid-ranges. I do think it's like it redefined the mid-range market, and it is the overmold mid-range now. It is slightly more understable than a Buzz, which for beginners is perfect. For amateurs is perfect. So, yeah. There's not really much else to say. The Hex is
the overmold
swanky.
Mid-ranges and putters feel so good. Incredible. And the Hex came out in 2021. I thought it had been around for longer, but I believe it was approved in like summer 2021. Up next is the Clash Discs Peach. We also just talked about this one But this one also came out, I believe, 21 or 22. And I'm going to put it above the other two in A tier because I think it is just so overlooked. It's a 4-speed, so, you know, mid-range approach disc. They define it as a mid-range over at Clash Discs website. Understable 4-speed. Nobody throws those. And they're so good. We loved reviewing this disc. Clash Disc Classic. I'm not going to say anything more about it. It's incredible. A tier.
Yeah, the 4-speed thing is so underrated. Like,
it is.
People don't think about how like it is slightly more controllable.
Yes.
Than a 5-speed. Like ever so slightly, but it flies just that much more like a putter. That makes it that much more controllable. So yeah,
love it.
The Peach is awesome. Okay, the Paradox. This is an awesome disc too.
I'm loving it.
A little bit trolly. Not gonna lie, it's a super understable disc. I do not know the numbers offhand. We'll put them on the screen, but it's like -3 turn or -4 1. I want to say it is. It's very flippy. I bagged one for a while, and it's the kind of disc that you have to put on hyzer just so that it won't turn into a roller type of mid range. But people love this thing. It is so good. I love it so much. It has a very unique hand feel for a mid, like a pretty substantial hook to the rim. I love it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it right now. It's definitely not swanky, but I'm probably going to put it... I don't know. I didn't rank the mango. I'm going to put it here in A tier.
I'd say it's above the mango.
Yeah, I think it could even be above these other two Clash mids, but it is like pretty niche still.
Yeah.
As far as like its use case goes. So, but it's almost a must have in the bag because that shot is so fun to throw. So.
No, yeah. It's so understable. Super nice. I'm going to real quick move the frag down here. I feel like that's just a little criminal to put it up there, but
that's fair.
Up next is the MD5. So we have some Discmania discs here.
Oh, the MD5.
And this is going to be a little weird because obviously the MD5, the MD3, I shouldn't say obviously, some people might not know, was manufactured by Innova, sold by Discmania back in the day. Incredible molds. The MD5 especially, I think, was very, very popular. It sort of switched places. I feel like the MD3 is much more popular now. The MD5 used to be a very, very popular mold. This is a new one. It is newly PDGA approved. It's completely different. I think this was PDGA approved. Not completely different. It is technically a different mold. Different flight numbers maybe. But the different measurements. Same name. I think it was approved in 2023, actually.
It's pretty new.
It's pretty new. And I have thrown one. I haven't thrown an S-line is what we have the picture of here, and I really want to try that. It's overstable. It's, again, I'm not a huge overstable mid-range person, but it's probably because I don't throw that far. And to me, a zone and this, which is like 5504 or something, like I think it is 5404, 5504, doesn't make a lot of sense for me. But an S-line MD5 sounds so good to me. I've only thrown the C-line, and it was still incredible. Yeah. We were actually at the Discmania factory. I'm putting this in A tier. I'm going to put it above the mango, near the mango, because same thing.
Very similar.
Incredible plastic. Such a good use, especially if you're a crusher and a buzz. A buzz flies like a buzz SS, and a buzz SS is a little too understable. You need an MD5, like that kind of deal. It's such a good disc. When we were visiting Discmania, they had them, and they told us like not to tell anybody about them. Super cool.
Yeah, I bagged the Cryo Stone, which was the Flex 1 MD5, which was so beef. Like unbelievably overstable to the point where like my Recluse was looking like a buzz next to it. It's crazy, but the MD5 is a great mold, and I think it does go above the mango for me too, just because that thing was board flat. I love that.
It was great.
Love that for forehands. Okay, MD3. This is a weird one. I'm assuming we are ranking the new MD3, not the MD3 as a whole, because the old MD3, this is the only mold that I'm like this with, but the old MD3 was so money, dude. I swear.
Interesting.
And I have not thrown. Oh wait,
I had an MD2. I had an MD2, and I think I had an MD5. The MD2 is like a 4502. We're talking the new MD3,
yeah,
which was also approved in 2022, I believe, or 2023.
S-line MD3s, the new ones, are so good.
Wild.
I don't know what it is. I could never get used to the Italian blend C-line. When it first came out, I was like, this is just a little bit, I don't know, stiff. I couldn't figure it out. They've probably improved it since I've thrown a C-line one, but the S-lines are so good.
They feel incredible.
Yeah, and just based on the flight of the S-line MD3 and just its impact on disc golf, we go here, I think.
Wasn't it like the first mold that they rolled out with their new manufacturing?
It was either,
or am I crazy?
They did the P2, the MD3, and the DD3 first. Those three. I don't know what order those came in. I just remember them
hyping up the MD3 a lot, the like Italian red looking MD3.
I think it was the first one to come out in Italian blend because the P2s didn't come out. Yeah, no,
they now have the Metal Flake kind of gummy MD3s and the S-line MD3. I like the S-line MD3 more than the ESP Buzz. I think Z Buzzes are the best thing in the entire world, but the S-line MD3, personally, think it's way better than the ESP Buzzes, in my opinion. The ESP Buzzes always come out weird for some reason. They'll either be puddle topped, which some people like, I guess, or super stiff, which I guess some people like. I don't know. I didn't like it. Up next is the Mutant. This is an Alden Harris Mutant. Shout out to Alden Harris for liking the Mutant. I do not like the Mutant. It's the same flight numbers as the MD5, if I'm not mistaken, but it feels horrible in the hand. I think it has
the Cybertruck of mid-ranges.
Yeah, they call it the Cybertruck of mid-ranges because it feels like you're holding a block. Doesn't it have maybe it has a really big bead. I had one for a while. I tried to throw it and it's just the MD5, but way worse and way more uncomfortable. I'm going to put this in C tier. I know Alden likes it a lot, but I think he low key likes it for the memes. I'm sure it flies great. It does what it's supposed to do.
Flies great in his hands.
I don't understand why you would want to hold something that feels super clunky when you can just get an S-line MD5 that maybe is a little bit glidier, but it's going to have the same stability at the end of the day. Doesn't make any sense to me personally. All of you, if you're a Mutant fan out there, let us know in the comments. Defend the Mutant because I don't get it.
If you like the Justice, you'll like the Mutant. They're very similar. If you don't like the Justice, do not bother with the Mutant. That's pretty much and then you go with the MD5 or the Mango instead because they're all very similar. Next we have the Uplink. This one, I don't remember when the Uplink came out, but I do remember it being in a gyro box. Not this Christmas, but last Christmas. So 2022, we had Uplinks in the gyro boxes, and they flew incredible. I think the stability numbers, which are the ones that matter, are -2.1 on it, which, I say they matter. They describe the flight more in my mind. We know it's a 5-speed. Come on, guys. Okay. The Uplink is awesome. It fits in between the Hex and the Paradox. And then after the Hex, you've got the Reactor. So we've got this whole beautiful lineup from MVP Axiom of incredible feeling mid-range, like you were saying earlier. I don't bag an Uplink. I wish I did. I just don't have one. That's basically what it comes down to. If I had one, it would probably be in the bag. I'm going to overrate this probably. I'm going to overrate this, but I'm going to put it at the top of A. I don't think I've done anything but put discs in A and S right now.
Have some diversity, please.
But dude, I can't. It's so good. And I want to be honest to you Swanky viewers that the Uplink is so good and it is just right there below the Hex, honestly. Like it's so good.
Yeah, I lied. It does look like we will have a dog toy tier disc, and it is the Divergent discs.
Oh, Golem. You're lucky you're doing this one. I love this thing.
The way we do this doesn't work out. We don't have to agree. We just bounce back and forth. And the Golem, I'm allowing one rubber blend disc to get my seal of approval here. It's not going to be the Golem. I think the Golem also does what it says it's supposed to do, but to me it feels cheaper. It's significantly more gummy than a lot. Like the Frag is a rubber blend disc, but it doesn't, when you're holding it flat, it doesn't just fall down. It's like if
It
you're watching
floops.
One Bite pizza reviews when Dave Portnoy holds up the pizza and he's like, look at that flop.
Look at that flop.
That's how I feel about that. And I just don't know how you consistently get a clean release out of a disc when it's folding in half in your hand, or when you're pulling through your flight, the disc is like falling back and lagging.
It is
behind
weird.
the throw.
It is weird.
It doesn't roll away. Great. Not worth it. Not worth it. Dog
It
toy.
doesn't roll away, dude. It sticks where it lands. It's great. Okay, so it's in D tier, whatever. I can't change your mind. But I will say that I thought the same thing at first with the droopiness. Like, this is an overstable disc. How am I supposed to get a clean release with this? I'm supposed to be able to forehand this. And Lincoln, who runs the local shop, he literally just handed it to me and said, don't think about the floppiness. Just trust it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And like 3 or 4 throws. And I was like, yeah, this is basically a zone. I don't know. I don't know what the big deal is. And it sticks where you throw it. It just like plops down and doesn't roll away. So nice. But yeah, it's a dog toy on our list, I guess. But yeah, the Golem. Okay, so Peace Train for me, and I'm glad I get this one. I get to do another very high ranking. I don't know, this might end up Swanky just because I say so.
I really like the Peace Train.
The Peace Train is awesome. Jester Discs, pretty new company. If you've been watching the channel, you know about them. We've talked about them at length, so I won't say too much. But the Peace Train's very understable, not paradox understable, but getting towards that end. More understable than the Peach, not as much as the Paradox. So it is my most understable mid. I throw it quite a bit, though, on hyzer flip lines in the woods, and on if I have to put a lot of height on it and I can throw it flat, I can trust that I can throw it high and flat and it will carry the turn the whole way without burning. So very useful
many
flight.
discs that Reed and I both bag.
It's true.
We both bag the Peace Train, though.
So that's an
That
easy
says
Swanky
something,
tier,
yeah.
actually. That's easy. It's
think
going to be
Josiah
below the
might,
Hex, just because of the Hex is the
Yeah, the
Hex.
Hex
You
is the
can't
Hex,
beat that. But the Peace Train is awesome. I can't really recommend it enough. Getting something that flippy and more usably flippy than the Paradox.
Yeah, I agree. Should definitely be up there. The Trust is next. I love the Trust. I feel like we got it in a box from Latitude 64, but it's just because we buy a lot of boxes from Latitude 64. So I don't know. We threw it somewhere along the way. I believe the numbers are 5501. Super straight flight. The most important thing here is that it is the Royal line, which that's just, I mean, the name says it all. They did a great job with marketing. It is the Royal Lines straight flyer mid-range. And that plastic, we say it all the time, it's potentially the best plastic on the market that you can buy. The highest quality, most polished, least inconsistent, most durable, super glidey. I love the plastic. The flight is pretty stock. It's you call it 0-1 or you call it -1-1. They kind of fly almost the same. It's very subjective, I feel like.
To arm speed, especially, yeah.
But it's got to go in A tier, and I'm going to put it pretty high because, like I said, I think it's the best plastic on the planet. It might not be your favorite, might not be my favorite. I have others I like more. I like Vapor Plastic from Discmania or that style plastic too, but yeah, Royal Grand Plastic definitely has the least inconsistencies or least blemishes, I think, of any plastic out there.
And this list is sort of shaping up to be pretty A-heavy, but I think that is like the state of the mid-range scene.
Yeah.
You know, like it's hard to make a bad mid-range. But that being said, the Swanky tier is also very low. It's hard to make a memorably stand out mid-range as well. So equally difficult to get on either side of that.
Let's switch these because we have the Rollo.
I don't want to do the Rollo
next. We're gonna have Reed do the J from Innova. Innova coming out with a couple mid-ranges, which is cool. But I'll let you do the J. I have more experience with the Rollo.
And by more, he means any. Because I've never thrown the Rollo. I'm kind of jealous that he has. I'm going to talk about the J. Yeah, so the J, when it came out, and I feel like it's been a while now, maybe 2022, best guess. I don't know if I'm right about that, but it feels like it's been out for at least a year. And when it came out, we were like, oh, finally, Innova has a buzz. I think that's what everybody was thinking. The numbers are pretty much exactly the same. 5.4, -1.1, I think is what it is.
I mean, they've had the Rock and the Rock 3 and stuff that's kind of similar forever, but nothing that I feel like... We were saying that about the Drive and the Wraith. Like, Discraft has other discs with the same exact numbers as the Wraith. Like, the Surge is the same exact numbers as the Wraith, but it does not feel like a Wraith. The Drive feels so much like a Wraith, and I feel like that's what this is to the Buzz.
Yeah, but the Rock never felt like a Buzz. Like, nobody
That's
thought...
what I'm saying about the Surge.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel
that's
like
true,
it did
yeah.
not feel...
They were, like, in direct competition. It was like you were Rock or Buzz. You weren't like, guys, let's just settle this. They're the same disc. That, I think, is more what we get with the J, but it was kind of a shockingly, like, release for Innova.
People were really excited at first, and then fizzled out.
I don't know of anybody really talking about or buzzing about the J. Buzzing about the J. What? And so, I mean, I like it though, but I think this is like a definition of a B tier disc. I grabbed the right one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it has a great flight. There's nothing wrong with it per se, but it was like way too little too late for Innova. And Innova, they are never going to market anything. They don't spend any money to market. I feel like they just like release a ton of discs and they don't really push any of them or do a ton different with any of them. I don't know. Yeah. So
although with this next disc kind of contradicts that a little bit. I don't think they marketed it a ton. Maybe
they actually,
I've heard of it.
I will, yeah. Before you talk about this one, this is this breaks the rule because they had a banger ad for this disc.
That's true. Yeah, the Rollo is next, and I do like that Innova is putting stuff out. When I was scrolling through the PDGA approved discs over the past couple of years, I saw that Discraft, if I'm not mistaken, hasn't put out a mid-range since the Malta in 2019. Was when it was approved, anyways. So shout out to Innova, I guess, for innovating. And the Rollo, the Rollo is just so fun, and it feels like, why doesn't every company have at least one disc in each slot, both like putter, mid-range, fairway, distance driver? That is just the most stupid, understable thing ever. Because that's what this is. It's high glide, crazy understability. I believe the turn on it is -4. I think it's -4.1. It's one of the few discs that has that kind of gimmicky turn that is 100% accurate. If you can only throw 15 miles an hour, you're going to get a straight flight out of this thing. If you can throw any faster than that, you're going to get full S flight out of it. It's incredible. It's both gimmicky and memey, but also super useful for lower arm speeds and also shots where you have a tricky lie or a standstill where you can't fully throw. I think I might put this in S tier, which is kind of funny, but for what it is, there's nothing better. And it's so good, and it's so much fun. We absolutely love playing with it. Yeah. That's gonna do it.
I respect that. I do. I've not even thrown one, but I want to really bad.
Too, like we said, Innova struggling with marketing. This one, everybody knows about the Rollo.
It's named after a piece of candy.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Okay. All right. Last disc is the Archive. This is Isaac Robinson's first signature release through Prodigy. We've thrown it a bunch on the channel. I've got one in the bag. I love it. Again, the numbers are 5502, and kind of like I talked about earlier with the Guava, that's a pretty niche shot for me. I think of one hole that I really throw the Archive on a lot locally. Otherwise, it stays in the bag to support my brother. But, like I just don't throw it a ton. I am going to put it in A tier, but I'm going to put it on the low end just because I don't think
the overstable mid-range.
Yep, there you go. Best of the lot there.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. That's also a disc we both bag, and I bag it also largely in part to support Isaac Robinson. But it's more useful to me than a super overstable mid-range that flies like a zone. Because this one is, if it's super windy and I would throw my Buzz, I'll throw the Archive. That's pretty much the use I have for it. And it flies great, feels good. It is from Yacune discs technically, but they did a good job with it. I've thrown quite a few actually. None of them that I have thrown had any flashing. I liked it. That's going to do it for the tier list.
That's it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, let us know what we missed. All of these discs were ones that we've thrown, so there's a lot we haven't thrown that came out recently too. You guys can let us know, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay swanky.
Stay swanky.